Hello guys, this is Mortaza, and in this video I want to talk about another pattern in microservices architecture. The pattern that I want to talk about today is called a Strangler Pattern. So we are going to go through a real life analogy, then we will move on to the description of this pattern, and then we will move on and talk about some use cases. Now, the real life analogy. So imagine you have an old, outdated house, right, that you want to completely renovate, right? So instead of tearing it down in one go completely and then building the new house from scratch, which could be, of course, very costly and time consuming, a lot of things could go wrong. So what you decide is that you will renovate the house piece by piece, room by room, right? So this is what you are going to do. You are going to start with the living room. You will renovate the living room, then we will move on to the kitchen, and so on. So you are gradually replacing and upgrading each part, right? So this makes more sense. Now, eventually, you've replaced the entire house, right? One piece at a time, and then what has happened is that you have renovated the house completely, but piece by piece. Now let's talk about the Strangler pattern a little bit. Now the Strangler pattern in microservices architecture is like the renovation approach we just talked about. So when you have a large monolithic old application that you want to modernize, you want to migrate to microservices architecture, which is your new house, right, based on the analogy we just talked about. So instead of a complete overhaul, instead of completely tearing down that monolithic application, you are going to start piece by piece. So you will start by creating new, smaller services, which are your microservices, of course, and based on that analogy, they are those renovated rooms like the living room, the kitchen, and so on. And then you will build these rooms around that existing monolithic application. So you take it one piece at a time, right? So over time you have migrated and replaced part of the monolith with these new microservices, of course, until your entire system is transformed. So a Strangler pattern says that instead of doing everything in one go, you are going to create your microservices one by one, and of course then you will use techniques to route the traffic to those microservices instead of your monolithic application. Now let's talk about some interesting use cases of this pattern. So let's say you have a massive e-commerce platform, right? Now you have been maintaining this for a while, and now you want to migrate it to kind of a microservices architecture. So instead of doing everything in one go, you are going to use the Strangler pattern. So this e-commerce platform, of course, it has become difficult to maintain and update because it is a monolithic application. So to improve agility and scalability, you have decided to apply the Strangler pattern. So this is what you are going to do. You are going to identify a specific functionality, like for example, a payment processing functionality, right? So you are going to create a microservice for it, and then you're going to route the payment requests from the monolith to these new microservices. As you are seeing, you are taking it one step at a time, right? So gradually you create more microservices for other functionalities like user authentication, inventory management, etc., until the monolith is strangled and replaced by a set of microservices. So this allows, pattern allows for smoother, incremental modernization without, of course, disrupting the entire system at once. So use this pattern. This pattern is mainly used when you want to migrate a monolithic architecture to a microservices architecture. Thank you so much for watching this video. If you enjoyed it, please give it a thumbs up and stay tuned for my upcoming videos.